Good morning, and I thank you very much for allowing me to visit with Gilman today. Mr. Smythe, Mr. Duncan, Coach Duncan, give a plug for that cross-country team. What do you feel? Let's hear it for the cross-country team. I know that students and teachers, all of us, join me in congratulating each and every member of the Cum Laude Society. It is indeed a great achievement. I particularly enjoy being back in this auditorium, a place of equally great memories for me. Here, my class was able to hear Walter Lord give a reprise of his infamous speech on the Titanic, a senior speech he originally gave in 1935, which began his distinguished work in historical research and writing. Here, right over there, where Mr. Spraggins is, I think I see, I asked my now wife of 34 years out on our first date as she practiced for a Gilman Bryn Mawr production. And here, all three of our children performed in productions. I'm particularly mindful of the Broadway musical Guys and Dolls, in which my daughter Carrie issued the famous line, "Take back your mink, take back your piles. What makes you think that I am one of those guiles?" Pretty good, huh? Well, today, I want to share some thoughts around 5 themes that are embedded in our ceremony: self-discovery, excellence, justice, honor, and courage. I do so based on my 35 years of business experience and community advocacy, and my belief that these values have never been more important than today. For each of you, I hope that they become a lifelong call to action. I attended Gilman from 1968 to 1972. Redmond C.S. Finney began his tenure as headmaster in my freshman year. More than any leader I know, Mr. Finney walked the talk of mind, body, and spirit. He had a gift for encouraging each of us to seek out what we wanted to do. Not what our parents wanted us to do. Not what our teachers and coaches wanted us to do. Not what our peers sometimes pressured us to do. Mr. Finney urged us to pursue this discovery process around the whole person, while building a strong foundation of intellectual advancement, enduring character, and community contributions. He referenced thoughtful statesmen like John Gardner, the founder of Common Cause, who said, quote, "Exploration of the full range of our potentialities is not something that we can safely leave to the chances of life. It is something to be pursued avidly to the end of our days. We should look forward to an endless and unpredictable dialogue between our own potentialities and the claims of life. We should look forward to an endless and unpredictable dialogue between our own potentialities and the claims of life." And by potentialities, I mean not just skills, said Mr. Gardner, but the full range of capabilities for sensing, wondering, learning, understanding, loving, and aspiring. Now I ask each of you to take this pursuit of self-discovery and link it with the 3 core values of the Cum Laude Society referenced in the brochure: excellence, justice, and honor. These values are familiar to us and represent a shorter version of the Gilman 5. When it comes to excellence, I am always reminded of a Hall of Fame coach who sought excellence when recruiting versus success. Players who championed the process of perfecting their play and spoke passionately about their love for the game were seen to be dedicated to excellence and better able to endure and grow. Players who were focused excessively with outcomes and accolades were more likely to hit the wall and burn out. Excellence comes from within and is always the better bet, said this coach. And I have always probed candidates for promotion or hiring with this distinction in mind. Hopefully, each of us right now can visualize a work of excellence that came from within, reflecting that right combination of inspiration and perspiration. Walter Lord's Titanic work. For me, it was a term paper on the case of Sacco and Vanzetti during the Red Scare in 1920. It was for sixth form U.S. history, and I became so captivated by the topic that I spent several days in the Library of Congress reading original transcripts and comparing the heated arguments of guilt versus innocence. Excellence can also be fun, and the celebration of victory a forever memory for all. The Ravens Super Bowl victories come to mind. How many were there when, on the first Super Bowl when Art Modell and Ray Lewis danced together to the tune of Who Let the Dogs Out? How many? Huh? We got some early fans here. More recently, jamming M&T in 2013 and hearing Ed Reed sing 2 Tickets to Paradise. How many here was down there with the 80,000? There we go. Well, Mr. Smythe kind of referenced something that I'm happy to hear is still going on. Because for our class of 72, it all came together in the first Metro-wide competition of It's Academic. Still going on? Still going on. Still going on. Okay, so we were truly the first, and we won. Our team included Ted Trimble, Alan Kaufman, and Tom Porter. They were backed up by Chris Taylor, Bruce Rosenberg, and George Bias, and coached by our revered English teacher, Roy Barker. Tom Porter, previously nicknamed the Mole. I don't know if you guys had nicknames like that, but truly we used them pretty with zing. Came out of his stealth demeanor and joined with Trimble, Kaufman, and first sub Taylor to win all 4 matches, and they were spread across the school year, culminating in the finals in May, where we packed Channel 11 studio and truly had an all-school support, cutting across all cliques and fashions, cheering our scholars. I have to believe that all 6 of these classmates were members of the Cum Laude Society. Justice is a welcome value to emphasize in my mind. We do not hear about it as often as we did or should. It would certainly incorporate the Gilman 5 themes of respect and humility. It also brings to mind the frequent admonition of Micah by former headmaster Callard, do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God. I was active in several initiatives around justice over these past 2 years. Certainly my work with the United Way, were really dedicated to changing the odds for those confronting poverty. Among the issues out there, 1 in 3 children in Baltimore City live in poverty. 1 in 3 children in Baltimore City live in poverty. They also focus on the issues of homeless, hunger, and healthy foods. In some cases, progress required showing respect for differing views while seeking to persuade those groups to reach out for a greater good perspective than doctrinal positions. The fight for marriage equality reflected this dynamic, particularly for those of us seeking just rights for the LGBT community and therefore disagreeing with our fellow Catholics. It has been gratifying to hear Pope Francis give voice to "Who am I to judge?" The fight for Baltimore City Public Schools, which was referenced, came down to justice for me. I've worked for the city schools for 30 years, and my wife, Georgie, is a teacher at Hampstead Hill and Patterson Park. The coalition that came together across families, students, teachers, churches, and business was remarkable and rarely achieved in Baltimore. It asked simple but powerful questions. If not us, who will speak for the largely poor and unrepresented children and students of city schools? If not now, when will chronic deterioration and deficient conditions be reversed? Honor and integrity have long been cornerstones of a Gilman education. I recall discussing it with Bill and Frank Carey, reflecting both their own experiences as students and the priority of their grandmother, Gilman's founder, and Galbraith carry. I will forever benefit from this emphasis, and so too will my sons Connor, class of 2000, and Noel, class of 2005. I am particularly encouraged by the leadership of Headmaster Schmick and Smythe on these vital issues. And yet, it is really up to each of us to walk the talk. Each of us. And to do so in a world which can at times penalize adherence and reward deviation. James B. Stewart wrote Tangled Webs and featured 4 celebrated cases of proven lying by otherwise successful people. Entrepreneur Martha Stewart, Vice Presidential Chief of Staff Scooter Libby, Home Run King Barry Bonds, and investment manager Bernie Madoff. Stewart believes that these cases are representative of, quote, a surge of concerted, deliberate lying by a different class of criminal, sophisticated, educated, affluent, and represented in many cases by the best lawyers, unquote. So I end these remarks on the topic of courage, and I do so by sharing a story from my spirit's home, the White Mountains of New Hampshire and Squam Lake. Some of you know it from your days and summers at Camp Deerwood. Louis Quimby Smith lived with his family in the town of Sandwich on a farm just north of Squam. Like half of the 340 eligible men in town, he enlisted to serve in the Civil War. He responded to President Lincoln's national call for 300,000 men in the dog days of July 1862. He served for almost 3 years, which included the bloody battles of Antietam, Fredericksburg, Shiloh, Vicksburg, Gettysburg, and Cold Harbor, of which he served in several. Corporal Smith wrote home to his family frequently and signed his letters, "Keep up good courage." He, the soldier living and serving in these horrid campaigns, was asking others to keep up good courage. Well, I'm forever inspired by reading these few words, and I hope you are too. I urge this upper school of Gilman, teachers and students alike, cum laude members, and all of us sharing this time together, to pursue the endless and unpredictable dialogue of self-discovery, to do so on the pillars of excellence, justice, and honor, and to keep up good courage and leadership to make this world a better place. Thank you.